So where you see this, you can place your piton, but that implies that basically where you do not see this, you cannot place the piton. Essentially, that this space denies your use of the piton. So here we sort of have a clear delineation of essentially affordance and what I call denial, which is saying that this has affordance, this has lack of affordance, or specifically saying, no, your affordance is denied here. But a lot of times there's a lot more of a middle ground. So let's take a look at this case right here. So in this case, we have two paths right here, and they both have an equal amount of affordance. They afford us to sort of walk down here. Let's add a little bit of a shape here. So this is a little bit of an impediment, but I think that there's still an affordance of passing through that space. I'll go down there, jump up, and keep going. What about this shape, though? So having this looks like it's 4 meters tall. That looks too tall, especially for our cowboy character to be able to jump up. So here we have this sort of differential where on this right side, I've got this space that affords climbing up, but on this left side, which is not really that much higher, you can't use it. So this is denying it. And this is honestly a little bit confusing because the language really isn't that clear. It's almost kind of like we're teasing the player with like coming down here, and they may just be disappointed by trying to jump up here and it not working. So maybe we want to make it a little bit more clear. So if we bring it up to here, what does this do for us? This is a lot more of a sense of denial of saying that no, you cannot get up here or you cannot pass through this way. And then the further we bring it up, so like here, even denies the fact that you might even be able to get up there at all because we've made this sort of even with this shape. So now we have a very solid way. This is denying you access. This is affording you access. And adding it to it even more, having foliage in front of it even further sort of pushes you back from the wall, meaning that you're denied access to it. Let's take a look at another example with a couple of doors. So both of these doors have the affordance of going through them. What if I were to do this? This is kind of interesting. Although both of these spaces have the affordance of being able to go through it, this is actually getting to something I was talking about earlier, that having a doorway right here implies that there's a special place here. There's something to be protected here. Why did someone build this door here, if not to protect a reward? So here I'm sort of have this sense of I want to go and explore this space even though it has the same affordance. The left side is bright and open. There's nothing special about it. So maybe there's a reward over here, but I feel more that there is one over here. What about this? So here's a doorway on the left that denies the affordance of being able to walk through it, assuming this doesn't open up. But this one out here on the right, it affords walking through. Here we have, does this shape say the same thing? Does this shape say the same thing as this door here? So we can see there's a space up here at the top of the wall. So there may be a space on the other side of this, but we don't know. And, as I was showing before, as we sort of bring this out, I'm even further removing sort of the possibility of space behind it, as opposed to here. Here I'm saying that there is a space on the left behind this wall, but I'm denying you entry. This is a denial. And, but it's funny in the sense that, in a way, my denial here has a flavor of affordance. I'm saying that the wall has the affordance, the door has a denial, the wall has what feels like an affordance that I could be able to be behind that wall. There's space behind that wall. I could exist there. But my movable door denies entry through the doorway. So now as a player, I have a challenge to overcome. Okay, so now look at this. Even more clearly, I've denied entry to the left. This door is not going to move because there's foliage in front of it that's going to stick it. But here on the right, I deny entry, but there's a condition. So if I move or break that wooden beam, the doors might open. So this is another sense of setting a challenge for the player. So in The Last of Us, we didn't want the player feeling as if they needed to go up and jiggle on every single doorknob, and so it often would be frustrating. So if you're in a space that has a lot of doors and you feel like you need to interact with each one because there's a sense of scarcity with the environment that you feel like you might need to, it feels irritating. And so coming up with a language here of denial is very important. Essentially, the idea of denials are just as important as the language of affordances. So as you can see, so with like this space right here, these are denying entry. There's no handle here to pull. You have to push from the inside. These doors might be able to open, they give that possibility, but you have to actually get inside to actually use them, so a bit of a challenge. So the idea of affordances and denials is something that you need to take careful consideration in your environment. In fact, in Uncharted 4, or maybe this is from one of the other Uncharted's, but one of our lead artists created a sort of guide here for players being able to stand, or artists being able to create edges that seemed climbable. And this is a problem that we often dealt with Nathan Drake, is that there's a lot of horizontal lines in the environment that look like they may be climbable. And so getting rid of those so that the player doesn't necessarily feel like they can climb everything, but they can read exactly what they could climb, was important for the game. So essentially this idea that edges like this that follow this sort of profile are climbable. Edges like this that are a little bit more, they sort of, so edges like this are 45 degrees around, I guess, in the direction the player's going, and these come back on the player, so they deny climbability, I suppose. But there are plenty of places in Uncharted 4 and the other Uncharted games where things go wrong, and things go wrong often in the best of games. Case in point here, this is Horizon Zero Dawn, which I absolutely love, but there's a situation here, especially in the city and stuff like that, where you've got things that seem like affordances. I should be able to climb up this stair. I know it's kind of narrow. Maybe that's what they're trying to point out with this narrow stair. But a stair sort of implies that it has the affordance of being able to climb up it. And actually, here's a stair even more. This is kind of a grandish looking stair, looking like it has a reward at the end. And this lamp is kind of blocking me from getting up there. And as the player, that can feel pretty disappointing, and especially if you're in sort of a combat space. So that's why it's important to do buffering.